Hi, I'm Florian, and these are keyboard shortcuts I use dozens, if not hundreds of times a week that save me a ton of time. Before we jump in, these are going to be Windows-centric, so if you're a Mac user, your mileage may vary. Usually it's a substitution of a command key for the control key, but that's not always the case, so I recommend Googling it. These also go well beyond the basics of cut, copy, paste, undo, and redo. So let's start off with keyboard shortcuts in the browser. I'm going to use Firefox, but these work just as well on Edge and Chrome. These keyboard shortcuts are reasonably standard across all browsers. Again, if you're a Mac user, it may be Command instead of Control. Google it if you're unsure. What I'm going to do first up is download this image by J.J. Harrison and save it to my downloads folder. There we go. So I can see that that's downloaded now. If you're on Chrome, you'll get a little thing down here, but I can open it again and find that particular image reasonably quickly. The problem, however, is when it doesn't appear in this drop-down. So if I close the browser now, and I reopen the browser, I may not be able to see the previously downloaded icon here. I can generally find this somewhere in this menu, but the quick keyboard shortcut that I always use is Ctrl-J, which just opens up the recent downloads. This also works in Chrome, which I will show you just now. Ctrl-J, there we go. And you can see that I've downloaded something here. It's in my download folder. In Chrome, this will open up in a new tab, so just be aware of that. The next keyboard shortcut is in a similar vein. Say you were at a particular website earlier in the day and you don't remember how to navigate back to it and you need to look at the history. Again, you can go searching for the history tab somewhere in this menu, but the quick and easy keyboard shortcut is Control and H. There we go. So then I can search where I was today and find that image or that website that I needed to find. Again, on Chrome, this is similar. Control-H will take me to a separate tab that contains all of the previous history, which I can then search through. Another really useful keyboard shortcut is reopening a tab you've just closed. You can right-click up here. Usually there's an Undo Close Tab button here. But let me just open a number of other pages here. There we go. So say I close this particular image, but I didn't mean to close that tab. I can use the keyboard shortcut Control, Shift, and T to reopen a closed tab. Also, if I close multiple tabs, I can use Control, Shift, T, then I can use it again and again to open all of the tabs that I've previously closed. This usually doesn't work if you've closed the window completely, so close all the tabs and go back in. If I now hit Control-Shift-T, it won't work. So it stays within that particular session. If you close the browser, it resets. But again, having a keyboard shortcut that can reopen closed tabs, Control-Shift-T, is incredibly useful. Another useful keyboard shortcut is Control-F. If I have a site with a lot of content on it and I'm looking for a particular key phrase, I can use Control-F to find text on the page. On Firefox, this will open at the bottom. On Chrome, Control-F will open a little dialog box at the top here. Another useful trick is Control-N to open a new window, so I now have two windows of Firefox open. Or if you just want to open a new tab, Control-T for tab. If you want to close the current tab, Control-F4 will close it. So the key thing to remember is Control-T for new tab, Control-Shift-T to open one that was previously closed, and Control-F4 to close a current open tab. Next, let's look at keyboard shortcuts within Windows. Say I want to open the File Explorer. I can find it down here because I have it pinned down there, but say you don't have it pinned down there, you don't want to go searching for it in here or look for the File Explorer manually. You just hit the Windows key and E, and it will open up with your most recent files here, and you can browse the computer from there. It's an incredibly useful keyboard shortcut that I use dozens of times a day. I particularly like having the most recent documents on this view here. I can navigate to the folder by opening the file location like so, but I can also drag from here directly into an email to attach the files to them. To minimize every window that you currently have open and just view your desktop, hitting the Windows key and D. You can also then reopen all of those by hitting the Windows key and D again. Once you've done something to another window though, let's say I open this one and then close it. If I go Control D now, nothing will happen. I need to manually reopen those. So that is something to bear in mind. Now, I've got multiple of these File Explorer windows open. I want to close this particular one. I can click the X up here, but if you're already on the keyboard, you don't want to move your hand to the mouse, Alt F4 will close any window on Windows. Another useful keyboard shortcut is Alt Tab. This allows me to cycle between open windows. In this case here, I have Word, Excel, and File Explorer open. If I tap Alt Tab, it takes me to the last window that I had open. If I tap it again, it will go back to the window that it just switched from. Say I want to get to Excel. I can also hold Alt and hit the Tab key several times in order to navigate to the precise window that I want. Having multiple windows open and using the Alt-Tab keyboard shortcut to navigate between them can get a little tedious. Sometimes you want to work side by side. This is where the Windows key and the arrow keys come in incredibly useful. I can use the Windows key and arrow keys to snap the window to one side or another. Another useful feature in Windows 10 is that it will allow me to then determine which window I want to snap to the other half. You can also snap it to more than just half-half. You can move it across and use the arrow keys. I suggest playing around with this, as this will allow you to get a feel for how this keyboard shortcut functions. The following keyboard shortcuts will help you navigate documents more easily. You can use the keyboard arrows to move one character at a time acrossways, or one row at a time up or down. Similarly, in Excel, you can also use the arrow keys to navigate between the different cells one at a time. However, if you use Control and the arrow keys, you can skip one word at a time, like so. You can also do this in the other direction. And when I use up and down, I can move, instead of one row at a time, I move one paragraph at a time. Similarly, in Excel, Control across will take me to the space just before the next blank. Control down will also do the same thing. So you can use it very quickly to navigate large data sets. It's also incredibly useful in determining blank rows or blank cells by finding the particular column and using Control and down to see how far down you go. Rather than use a mouse to highlight text like so, you can use the Shift key and the arrows to move across one character at a time or one line at a time from wherever you started. In Excel, this looks like this. You move across or you move up. You can also use these in conjunction with each other by moving across and up. So Shift and across, or Shift and up, or Shift and across and up. This can be incredibly useful when highlighting information that needs to be formatted in a particular way. If you're wanting to highlight more than just a few characters of text, this would be quite tedious. So you can use Control, Shift, and arrow in conjunction with each other to highlight one word at a time, or in the case of Control, Shift, and down, highlight one entire paragraph at a time. Similarly, in Excel, you can use Control, Shift, and down to highlight until the next blank space, and you can use Control, Shift, and across to do the same. Similarly with Control, Shift, up, and Control, Shift, left, like so. And the last useful keyboard shortcut I will show you is Control A, which highlights all relevant text in a particular section. If I do Control A here, it will highlight the entire document. Sometimes in Excel, something to bear in mind, if you hit Control A, it will try to be smart about what you're trying to select, and it may sometimes get it wrong. So you may need to hit Control A again to highlight the whole sheet, or you may need to manually highlight this using the keyboard shortcuts that I've showed you previously. Now, if you're anything like me, trying to incorporate all of those keyboard shortcuts into your daily work routine at once is going to result in a major failure. I recommend picking a couple and using those, and when you feel comfortable, move on to the next one and then the next one. These are just the tip of the iceberg, and these are ones that I use quite regularly myself. If there are any I've missed that you use that you find incredibly useful, please share them in the comments below. If you like this video, please like it, share it with somebody who might find it useful, and subscribe if you think that this earned it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.